Hello. If I can have your attention, please, we'd like to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. We'd like to get started on such a beautiful day. All right. Hi. My name is Marty Roth, and I'm the ritual chair here at Beth Ami. Thank you. And welcome to the 18th annual Yom Hashoah V'Gavura commemoration program with the child survivors and hidden children of the Holocaust organization here at Beth Ami. We are glad you could attend this afternoon, as we have an outstanding program for you today, featuring Aaron and Henrika Belsky. Aaron, who was a partisan during the Holocaust and with his brothers saved over 1,200 of his fellow Jews. We also have with us today the Loggers Run Middle School Girls Choir performing the Partisan song. And before I forget, please silence or turn off your cell phones. Finally, where's Zelda? Hi. I would personally like to thank Ms. Zelda Fuchsman, who spent many hours putting this presentation together, and without her tireless efforts, this program would not be possible. Thank you, Zelda. So let's get started. I am very pleased to introduce our new rabbi here at Beth Ami. Rabbi Cantor Bertram Kiefer has served the Jewish community with distinction as a spiritual leader for the past 31 years. He attempted retirement, but felt he could still provide a needed service to the Jewish community. Boy, were we lucky. And we are delighted to have him and the Rebbetzin Dayan here at Beth Ami. As a former singer and entertainer, full-time pulpit cantor, Rabbi Kiefer's ministry has been heavily intertwined with contemporary Jewish and secular music to involve his congregants. Just stop by Beth Ami on the last Friday night of each month and enjoy a pop Shabbat service. Whether it's music of Frank Sinatra, Tom Jones, Engelbert Humperdinck, or 70s rock music, you'll thoroughly enjoy this Friday night service. Rabbi Kiefer also serves as the current concert chairperson of the Southeast region of the Cantors Assembly, and this past year we hosted the Cantors Concert here at Beth Ami. It was a huge success, and I, for one, can't wait to hear the rabbi lead our high holiday services this year. So, Rabbi, as you join me here on the Bima, I'd like to ask our survivors and our next generations to exit the sanctuary and follow Diane to the library to begin the procession with the Yortzeit candles. All survivors, next generation, please follow Diane. I'd like to ask you to lead us in the Star-Spangled Banner and the Hatikvah. Everyone can find it on page 8 of the program booklet. Please rise as we sing our national anthem and the anthem of Israel.
Bright star through the land. Please be seated.
You may be seated. I should just go.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my honor to welcome you to Beth Ami congregation. As our first speaker this afternoon, I feel I should give you some background that many of us assembled here today may not know. A recent Washington Post article stated that in 1939, the global population of Jewish people worldwide peaked at around 16.6 million. The total world population at that time was approximately 2 billion people. Just in sheer numbers, the devastation of losing 6 million Jewish souls meant that in just a few horrifying years, the global population of Jews had fallen by more than a third. This week, a new report by the Jerusalem-based think tank, Jewish People Policy Institute, the JPPI, they made a startling announcement. The world's Jewish population was finally approaching 16.6 million again. However, the general population in the world today, however, is now just under 8 billion. So you can see that percentage-wise, we've become a lot less prolific, you might say. The point is that it's taken world Jewry nearly 70 years for the global population of Jews to just return to its pre-Holocaust peak. 70 years. Aside from the loss of those unborn Jewish generations, just in terms of our numbers, what quality had been lost? What creativity in the sciences, in the arts, in all aspects of life? What had been lost? What had been taken? And that is why each of you who survived were, of course, a blessing to your families. But you were and are also a blessing to every Jew. Each one of you is a jewel. Among our precious survivors were 11 Nobel Prize winners. Francois Englert, Physics, 2013. Martin Karplus, Chemistry, also in 2013. Avram Hershko, Chemistry. Imre Kertész, Literature, 2002. He was a survivor from Hungary who was interned in Auschwitz death camp and Buchenwald concentration camp. There was Walter Kohn, K-O-H-N, 1998, Chemistry. Rita Levi-Montalcini, 1986, Medicine. An Italian survivor who survived the war by hiding underground in Florence. You might remember Elie Wiesel, got the Nobel Prize in 1986. He was a Romanian survivor of Auschwitz and Buchenwald. Roald Hoffmann, Chemistry, 1981. He survived the war in a ghetto labor camp and hiding in Poland. Arno Penzias, Nobel Prize for Physics, 1978. He was a German Jew, evacuated to England in 1939 as part of the Kinder Transport Rescue Operation. I think some of you here were part of that, the Kinder Transport. There was Sir Bernard Katz, Medicine, 1970, and Nellie Sachs, 1966, Nobel Prize for Literature. These were people who survived to do great things. There also have been famous Holocaust survivors who've been fabulously successful in business. I'll mention just a few. Marcel Adams comes to mind. He passed away recently at the age of 100 in 2020. He was a real estate magnate based in Canada. Forbes estimated that he had a net worth shared by his family of $1.7 billion. At the time of his passing, Adams was the second oldest billionaire in the world. The business leader, in fact, grew up Marcel Abramovich in Romania. He survived being in a Holocaust forced labor camp in the country during World War II, and he escaped in 1944 to Israel, and he fought in Israel's War of Independence. Marcel Adams. Then there's Siggy B. Wilczek. After being liberated by American troops in Austria's Mauthausen death camp in April of 1945, Wilczek weighed 80 pounds, and had no education. In 1947, at 21 years of age, Wilczek came to New York, worked all kinds of jobs, from shoveling snow to selling furniture. Later, he went into the banking and oil industries. By the time he was done, he had built an oil and banking empire with more than $4 billion in assets. His story is the story of a volcano of a guy who had stared into the abyss and found a way to manage his horrible memories of the Holocaust and get past it. His son Ivan says that his father was a beacon of light to every immigrant who ever came to America, and a ray of hope for anyone who had been through tragedy. His father was really one of the most extraordinary stories in post-war American history. And I'll give you just one more person like that, Jonah Goldrich. He was a real estate tycoon, Holocaust survivor, who came to Southern California with $50 in his pocket, went on to help transform downtown Los Angeles and Marina del Rey. He leaves behind a real estate empire of 211 properties across the state, primarily in Southern California, including government-assisted housing, senior living facilities, and marinas. He supported Holocaust remembrance and awareness, starting the Goldrich Family Foundation to further that mission and other causes. He also served as a major benefactor to numerous Jewish and Israeli charities. His crowning achievement was helping to establish the Los Angeles Museum of the Holocaust in Pan Pacific Park. Some of you from the West Coast may have known some of these places. No background, but every survivor, whatever their financial accomplishments, whatever their artistic achievements, whatever successes we might ascribe to them, we here, assembled today at Beth Ami congregation, we know that every survivor is a hero. Every survivor has to fight off demons their entire lives just to be able to absorb happy moments that you and I, the outsiders to this undeserved club, we take those so for granted. Every survivor is a living victory over hate. Just by living everyday lives, these survivors are an inspiration to all of us who have followed. If you'll allow me just a few more facts to help form a foundation for why we're here today. According to figures published in 2022, just a few months back, there are 161,400 Holocaust survivors living in Israel. The average age of Holocaust survivors is 85 and a half, with 31,500 of them over age 90, and more than 1,000 who have lived for over a century. Over the past year, 15,553 survivors died in Israel, an average of more than 42 a day. Also, as of 2022, the U.S. Holocaust survivor count dipped to 50,000. The youngest survivors are now in their late 70s, and nearly 60% are 85 and older. More than 1/3 are estimated to live below the poverty line. Most of the survivors reside in New York, Florida, and California. So that's a little background for those who may not know some of these facts. We are delighted that you young people from the Walkers Run Middle School Girls Chorus, with encouragement from your director, Dawn Zeman, and with extra special help from our own Zelda Fuchsman, who I know went over there and kind of helped you a little bit, you have elected to be part of this memorial today. We have brought you young people to memorials like this because we know that there are haters in the world who are going to deny there ever was a Holocaust. We know that there are people living today who could have spoken out when their neighbors were rounded up, stripped of their property, and whisked away by trains to a certain death. You young people need to see that yes, there is evil in the world. And it can come close to us and any other group all too easily. So I say to you today that when you kids are in your 70s and 80s, no, it's hard to picture that. When you get there, God willing, and people that you know and speak to try to deny the Holocaust, you can say to them, no. When I was young, I knew many survivors. I talked to them. I heard their stories. I saw their films. I saw how they overcame it all. How they triumphed every day just by living their lives. I saw it with my own eyes. And that's why we do this. Why we focus on our survivors and try to shed light to the young people on the darkness of their truths. We have to always remember and pass along to the next generation what can happen when hate dominates the world. In closing, let me pass along a quote from the late Nobel Prize winner Elie Wiesel. He wrote this in his memoir, quote, "For the survivor who chooses to testify, it is clear. His duty is to bear witness for the dead and for the living. He has no right to deprive future generations of a past that belongs to our collective memory. To forget would be not only dangerous but offensive. To forget the dead would be akin to killing them a second time." And finally, let me say, we will never forget the unforgettable. We will stand tall and announce, never again.
Thank you, Rabbi. Next up will be Scott Van Dyke. Scott is president of Beth Ami Congregation. During his 35-year work career in his packaging industry, he has worked for Fortune 500 companies, private enterprises, and has owned his own small company. Scott is a third-generation Holocaust survivor. His grandparents came from Lodz and Rebushev, while his mother was born without a country on January 4th, 1947 in a DP camp in West Germany. In 1966, Scott was the first American-born grandchild of his grandparents, Abe and Ina Fox, in my hometown of Brooklyn, New York. Thank you. And Scott met his future wife, Jacqueline, while visiting his brother in Israel. They were engaged at the Kotel. Jacqueline and Scott currently live in Boca Raton. Scott?
Thank you, Marty. They had a frightening desire for genocide. They wouldn't stop till what was left of my family died. Hell-bent on taking over the world, you couldn't hide in the shout of conformity. We cannot forget how we were devastated by the beast and how we pleaded with the captors for release. We were hunted for no reason at all. One of the darkest times in our history. All that I have left inside is a soul that's filled with pride. I tell you, never again, oh never again. In a brave society, didn't end up killing me. Scream with me, never again, not again. A generation that was persecuted endlessly, exterminated by the Nazi war machine. We will remember, let the story be told, to realize how we lost our humanity. You dare to tell me that there never was a Holocaust? You think that history will leave the memory lost. Hitler using fear to control. You're gonna fail this time for the world to see. All that I have left inside is a soul that's filled with pride. I tell you, never again, in a brave society, never again. Scream with me, never again, for the countless souls who died. Their voices fill this night. Sing with me, never again. They aren't lost. You see, the truth will live in me. Believe me, never again. David Draymond, author. Dear community, friends, honored guests. Last year I stood before you and told you the story of my family's history of being murdered in the Holocaust, along with the question we Jews had of God. My speech today is different, however, and it speaks to the words and the commitment of never again. Today we gather to remember the honor of millions of Jewish lives that were lost during the Holocaust. We came together to pay tribute to the innocent men, women, and children who were brutally murdered simply because of who they were, and we come together today to say never again. The Holocaust tragedy that shook the world to its core. It was a time of darkness and despair, of hatred, discrimination, and yet, even in the unimaginable suffering and oppression, the Jewish people, they never lost hope. They held on to their faith and their culture and their identity, and they refused to be silenced and snuffed out. We must never forget the lessons of the Holocaust. We must remember the power of compassion, courage, and resistance. We must never forget the innocent lives that were lost, and we must honor their memory by standing up today against hate, bigotry, discrimination, wherever and whenever we see it. Today we're witnessing a rise in anti-Semitism in the forms of hate speech around the world, from the desecration of Jewish cemeteries to the vandalism of synagogues and community centers. We see the echoes of the past creeping back into the present. Our college campuses are under attack by organizations that attack Jewish students, Zionism, and Israel. Our leaders outright defend BDS, supposed human rights violations, and twist logic that when Israel defends itself against attackers, that somehow they are the oppressors, colonizers, and the victims are the attackers are the victims. We cannot afford to be complacent. We cannot afford to turn a blind eye. The Anti-Defamation League reported a 12% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in 2020, and that was the lowest percentage in the last 3 years. Here today, Congregation Beth Ami, we have to spend $300 a week to provide security just so that we can pray in peace and, God forbid, be attacked for being Jews and praying together. Just imagine if we instead could take that money and put it to some good use like tzedakah or helping out those in need. One of the most important lessons that we can learn from the Holocaust is the danger of remaining silent in the face of injustice. During the Holocaust, many individuals and countries turned a blind eye to the atrocities that being committed. Some even actively collaborated with the Nazi regime. We must remember that silence and apathy can be just as dangerous as hate speech and violence. For each and every one here today, it is our duty collectively to speak out against hate and intolerance. It is our responsibility to stand up for what is right and just. We must not be afraid to use our voices, to demand change, and to fight against discrimination in all its forms. Just the other week, we had the privilege of hosting Dr. Green, who told stories of Jewish gangsters in the 1930s. Well, even though they were of ill character in certain ways, they knew it was their sacred duty to stand up to the Bund organization that tried to spread their cancer in America. Their convictions and determinations not to be victims should be something that we should remember. As we remember the victims of the Holocaust, we must also honor the survivors. We must recognize their incredible strength to endure unimaginable horrors, suffering, and yet refuse to give up. We must learn from their experiences, and we must be inspired by their courage. We also remember the countless individuals who risked their lives to help others during the Holocaust, from the brave individuals who hid Jewish families in their homes to the resistance fighters who fought back against the Nazis. These heroes remind us of the power of solidarity and the importance of standing up for what is right. As we come together today, let us remember the millions of lives lost during the Holocaust. Let us honor their memory by committing ourselves to a world free of hate and discrimination. Let us stand up for what is right, and let us never forget the lessons of the past. Today, together, we can build a brighter future for all.
Well said, Scott. Frida Jaffe founded the Child Survivors Hidden Children of the Holocaust 31 years ago. In the early months, her home was a safe place to share and shed tears of lost families and a lost childhood. These simple beginnings created the powerful little organization, the Child Survivors Hidden Children of the Holocaust, Palm Beach County. Much has been accomplished in these 31 years. Books, speaking to schools, going on the March of the Living, and much, much more. Frida has been a strong voice and a leader in this little but powerful group. She has paved the way to enhance Holocaust education. It's my privilege to introduce Miss Frida Jaffe.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is going to be difficult, but I'm going to do my best.
You'll be great.
I've been doing it a while.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Anybody have any problem hearing me?
No, we're good.
Good, because I can speak pretty loud. I sort of have to apologize. I thought I was going to do the introduction at the beginning, so this is kind of a little bit awkward for me. But I know you'll be patient. And so we welcome all of you this afternoon on behalf of our organization, the Child Survivors Hidden Children of the Holocaust of Palm Beach County. As in years past, we are grateful to Beth Ami congregation for making this yearly program a joint effort of remembrance between Beth Ami and our organization. It's been 31 years, I think. This year, we also commemorate the anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. April 19, 1943, on the eve of Passover, the fighting began. This handful of untrained, ill-equipped ghetto fighters held out for 27 days, even though the outcome of this uprising had to be known and accepted by all of them. We remember their sacrifice and honor. We honor their legacy of courage, strength, and love of freedom, even in the face of their own death. This annual Yom HaShoah has become more crucial as we children of the Shoah realize that we are the last surviving eyewitnesses. Soon, there will be none of us to recount our personal experiences, to explain and teach to our grandchildren and all school children what our early life was like under Nazi terror. How we watched as our families were mercilessly murdered and left us wondering as to how and why we, so few children and young adults, somehow survived death, but we did not survive the Shoah, the Holocaust. The Shoah is and always will be a part of our lives. And although we were robbed of our childhood, we lived, we learned, and through it all, Zachor, we still remember. Our organization is small, unfortunately getting even smaller, but we have accomplished a lot. We've been involved with Holocaust education in South Florida. We've had a huge impact on thousands of students, and we are here as a support group for our own membership. We meet and share thoughts, ideas, and topics of current interest. At times, we even cry with each other. And we argue, and we have different opinions, but in short, we are a family. And this afternoon, we pause, we reflect, and we commemorate Yom HaShoah with words of remembrance, with music, and even tears. And most especially, we remember the 1.5 million Jewish children senselessly slaughtered by the Nazis and their collaborators throughout Europe. Yom HaShoah is a sacred mission of remembrance for the sake of humanity, as for us, we, the children of the Shoah, for the rest of our lives, until our final breath, we will remember the children. Zachor, gedenk, remember. Sure.
Thank you, Frida. Norman Freshman was born in the city of Warsaw, Poland, which was occupied by the Germans in 1939. Norman was only 10 years old at the time. He experienced and witnessed the heroic Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943, and he is a survivor of a number of camps, including Majdanek and Buchenwald. The jacket that you see at the front of the bimah was worn by Norman while he was an inmate in the Buchenwald concentration camp. It was issued to him in 1944 when he was only 14 years old. Norman considers this jacket to be a survivor of the Holocaust and is an integral part of his life as a survivor. Norman has been president of the Child Survivors Hidden Children for the past 15 years. He has dedicated his life and energies to promote Holocaust education. He has been awarded the Medal of Freedom from the state of Florida. I'm very proud and humbled to introduce Norman as our next speaker.
Scott, adjust the mic for him. Close to his mouth because he speaks wide.
Greetings to all. Today we are commemorating not only the Shoah, but also remembering the heroic battles that our people fought in many areas of Europe. Today we are remembering our tragedy, but we also remember our heroes. I stand before you not only as a survivor, but as a witness of one of the most heroic battles in World War II. Many of you know about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, which began on the eve of Passover in April 19, 1943, and lasted until May 16 of 1943. The SS and police deported approximately 42,000 Warsaw Ghetto survivors who were captured during the uprising. These people were sent to forced labor camps of Poniatowa and Travniki and the Lublin, Majdanek concentration camps. Most of them were murdered at those camps in November of 43 in a two-day shooting operation known as Operation Harvest Festival, and it was called Erntefest. Now, this is probably one of the worst days in the history of the Holocaust because they eliminated every Jewish person around there that they brought from different places to manufacture uniforms, boots and all that. End result was that 43,000 people were murdered in 2 days. This is all documented. All you have to do is look up the Erntefest, what happened. I was fortunate enough that a few weeks prior to this, being already in Majdanek at the one of extermination camps, one of the 6 designated specifically for murdering us. Unfortunately, I had lost mom, sister, mom of 34, birthday of 12, and suddenly I find myself all by myself. My personal witnessing is real. I still see, hear, and smell the smoke of the battle that ranged longer than most of the battles of European countries or Germany. They would attack a country within 2 weeks. They occupied it. Yet the heroic Jewish uprising that has happened exactly 80 years ago is an act of heroism that stood up against the almighty Germans, who, Mark Shamor, may never stop rotting in hell for what they had done to our people. 6 million victims. Now there were 5 million others who probably were there for various reasons, being it political or criminal. Maybe they had a chance to be liberated, maybe not. I cannot sit in judgment. But our die was cast. We were scheduled for genocide. They were very efficient about it. To lose 6 million. Imagine, you take a country and kill each and everybody that had 6 million citizens. Suddenly there's none. Mothers, sisters, children, grown-ups, grandparents, every one of them disappeared, every one of them dead. We survivors, we were accused of going to the death as sheep. My dear friends, it's a big lie. Do not believe it. We fought, stood up to the might, and proved to them that we Jewish people are here to stay. This is why we always end our speeches, everything, of Am Israel Chai. Very powerful words. Very powerful. We lost, but these losses should not be forgotten. I know when I go around to speak to the young people at schools, the most important part of my speeches are, children, get rid of a 4-letter word, and that word is hate, because that's the cause of all the problems that we were subjected to. It is so easily replaced by another word, 4 letters, the same thing, meaning love. But the tendency is that the word hate comes out very easily out of your mind. But the most trivial thing that is not necessary, out comes the word, I hate you. My dear friends, think a little deeper as to what the meaning of it is, and kindly refrain from using it. I was too young. I was just 11 years old. I was too young to join the uprising, but to the end of my life and beyond, I will honor and remember these heroes. 700 fighters under the leadership of a 23-year-old young man by the name of Mordechai Anilevich. And who were our fighters? Young people at your age. 13, 14, 15, they found that it is their responsibility to make sure that there are witnesses alive. So this tragedy, known as Holocaust, does not repeat itself. It does not come back ever. I am a proud grandfather of 2 grandchildren, and my aim in life is to leave a better world for them I believe that I am succeeding because judging by what I see in today's schools, the children are more receptive to what we have to share with them than the previous generations. And for that, young people, we thank you so much. Remember that you are our missionaries for future lives. God willing, you'll be having families of your own in the future. You must, so to speak, prepare the bed to sleep peacefully. And I know you can do it because I see it and I witness it every time I go to a school and fortunate to address them. The ghetto was burning, people hiding in bunkers. They were killed by the raging fires, but the Germans started to destroy all the buildings in the ghetto of Warsaw. My mother, my little sister, and I survived. Don't know how. We were herded into an overcrowded cattle car and transported to the killing factories. Our destination was Majdanek, as I mentioned before, one of the 6 extermination camps, where our dear mother and sister were marched into the gas chambers and murdered. I lived with those scenes, and my soul has never found peace. Each one of you, survivors and guests, must always remember not only our destruction, but also celebrate the heroism of our people. Just to have survived was heroic. So, my dear survivors, you are our heroes. I honor you and thank you for representing our peoples who are heroes. And thank you most of all to the Temple of Beth Ami for sharing your home with us. For the past years, you have been generous and kind enough to host us. And you know what it means to each and every one of us who survived. Yes, we have a place to go, and people are very wonderful to us. Thank you so very much. My dear friends, as my last words, I'd like for you to remember the 80th anniversary of the most heroic uprising of the century, because the tragedy of the Holocaust is unknown in the history of mankind. It must never be repeated. Am Israel Chai. Thank you.
Norman, you're on a step. Be careful.
Several years ago, I was thinking at an occasion such as this, what it might have been like if I was an 8-year-old kid in one of these towns in Poland. Maybe my mom sent me out to the store, get some milk, bring back to the house. I was imagining what that might be in a climate such as in the 1930s in Eastern Europe. And I put these words together. I call this song, I'm a Child No Longer. Yesterday's world had sunlight and flowers, and laughter and love and great joy. the Torah for hours, and I was a happy 8-year-old boy. And then one day, the sun went away, leaving me in darkness and dread. There was nothing I could do, and nothing I could say to avoid the events that lay just ahead. Dear God up in heaven, there's something I don't get. Why couldn't you have made me much stronger? I'm just 8 years old, and I will never forget. For I am a child no longer. Where did all of the people go? The streets look gray and bare. I stopped by the house of my best friend Joe, but not a soul was there. Something strange is happening here. I see fear in everyone's eyes. Shots ring out, and they are much too near. I am frightened by my little brother's cries. Dear God up in heaven, there's something I don't get. Why couldn't you have made me much stronger? I am just 8 years old, and I will never forget. For I am a child no longer. Mama pulls me close into her chest. I can feel her tremble and shake. The Jewish people are chosen and blessed. There must be some mistake. This can't be true. There's too much undone. Please, sir, please don't take my mommy away. I love you, she said. You must live, my son, were the last words I'd ever hear her say. Dear God up in heaven, there's something I don't get. Why couldn't you have made me much stronger? I'm just 8 years old, and I will never forget. For I am a child no longer. I'm just 8 years old, and I will never forget. For I am a child no longer.
Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, who here has seen the movie Defiance? Great picture. Well, we just showed it here last Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, in preparation for Yom HaShoah, and our special guests here today, Aaron and Henrika Bilski. The movie was about the Bilski brothers who created a notable resistance organization, the Bilski Partisans. Aaron was played by the British actor George Mackey. Aaron Bilski was born in 1927 on a farm in Stankowice, Poland, a rural area outside Novogródek. He is the youngest of 10 brothers and 2 sisters. When the Nazis invaded the Soviet Union, 3 of his brothers, Tuvia, Sale, and Zeus, all of whom were more than 15 years older than Aaron, lived with their own families away from the Bilski farm. After Aaron's parents, David and Bella, were murdered in a mass killing, he found his way and joined his brothers in the forest, where the 4 brothers became the saviors of 1,200 Jews who either escaped or smuggled out of the ghetto. Aaron, only 14 years at the time, played a tremendous role in bringing Jews from the ghetto to the Bilski Forest camp. Being young, and he seemed not to be a threat to the Nazis, it gave him the opportunity to move about and sneak into the ghetto undetected. His warm attitude and friendly nature convinced ghetto people to escape. In his brother's diary, Tuvia wrote, "It is Aaron who brings life into the community. He finds other survivors and introduces them to our district." With Aaron's help, the Bilski Brigade grew to more than 1,200 Jews by the end of the war. Today, their descendants number more than 30,000. After the war, Aaron immigrated to Palestine and served in the army during Israel's War of Independence in 1948. In 1952, he moved to the U.S., where his brothers and the rest of the family resided. Henrika was born a few months before the Second World War started in Białystok, Poland. During the war, she was living with her mother in a neighbor's house, hiding from the Germans. As a baby and a toddler, hiding not to be discovered, it became a revelation when she first saw the sun for the first time. Henrika and her family remained in Poland under communist regime until 1957. In 1957, given the opportunity to finally leave, they were able to immigrate to Canada. This is where she continued her education and became a dentist. She lived in Canada until 1990. This is the year she married Aaron, with whom she shares her life and her efforts in promoting Holocaust history, especially of the heroic acts of the Jewish people during the Holocaust. Aaron and Henrika speak to groups, educators, students, sharing the experiences of his family's survival and resistance. Today, Aaron and Henrika live close by in Palm Beach, Florida. I am honored to introduce Ms. Henrika Bilski.
I'm very shocked. I don't know I'm gonna get it. It's okay. Come on here.
Make sure the
Okay. Come on.
microphone is by her mouth, please.
Come here. Come here.
Come and see her.
That is about you everything, okay? Rabbi and survivor guests, I am honored to be with you this important day, Yom Shoah. We remember our murdered family and honoring the heroic people who fought to save many Jewish people from the evil murder. I speak for my Aaron and his brother who give their life to not only fight, but kill and collaborate and save over 1,200 Jews. That was his father credit. The David Bielski said to his sons, "Boys, we are young, we survive, go to forest, and Hitler gonna lose, we gonna be still alive." One of our member is here, Riva Birstin, as such survivor who survived with my husband in the camp. Where is Riva? Riva? Oh, she said.
I'm very sorry. It's all
Okay.
right. It's all right. I'm sorry. No, listen.
As you have heard, surviving our tournament to our people, we lead to the death like sheep to the slaughter, but it's not true. This is that we completely demoralize, midless and bad, no will left. Most were lead and tracked into gas chamber. Would we support this shower after long showering journey in cattle cars? Does have survived is heroic. Each one of you survivors are heroes. Our Jewish people fought on all fronts. Actually, approximately 1.5 million Jews survived a regular alliance army, American, British, Soviet Union, militaries during the War II. Approximately 50,000 American Jews survive in various branches of the United States. arms serve and about 52,000 receiving U.S. military awards. We, don't cry, Aaron, we survive are now the last voice of the brink through of the world. We ask you, future generation, to remember historic surviving and survival and be our future heroes who will remember and commit our last generation and above all protect and their Jewish people and Israel. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Gesundheit.
We're seeing stories of optimism, hope in the face of terrible, terrible calamities. And there's a song that kind of expresses this that I'd like to share with you today. Many of you might have heard of You'll Never Walk Alone. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams may toss and blow. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone.
Thanks, Rabbi. Kelly Warsaw serves as co-president and vice president of finance for Insight Through Education, a not-for-profit that funds Holocaust education programs for teachers and students in Palm Beach County. Kelly has served as a board member of Insight since 2019 and was drawn to the organization for its mission and opportunity to impact the lives of young people. Under her leadership, the child survivors, hidden children, have benefited by their supporting and helping in their outreach, speaking to schools, and making their books available at many schools. A special shout out goes to Kelly for her generous support all year long to child survivors, hidden children. It is certainly appreciated, and thank you. Kelly?
promised Zelda, make sure the mic was close, so I may have to hunch over a bit.
You're doing good.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Zelda, for inviting me to speak today on this solemn day of remembrance. Okay. Today we commemorate the victims of the Holocaust. We honor you, the survivors, and pay tribute to the rescuers and the liberators. The power and significance of this history inspires us to confront and stand up to anti-Semitism, all forms of hate, and genocide. I am humbled to be standing here today before some of the most courageous and respected people I've had the privilege of getting to know. You are brave, you are resilient, kind, and giving. Many of you have dedicated yourselves to teaching never again from the perspective that few can. Thank you. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about Insight. I know some of you know, but not everyone here. Insight was founded in 2010 by a small group of individuals who wanted to provide funding to the Palm Beach County schools for the Holocaust mandate that was largely, if not completely, unfunded. Insight has been working tirelessly for 13 years to continue that mission. And today we are the backbone of the Holocaust education program for Palm Beach County schools. We offer teachers access to the best materials and training to teach the Holocaust and the lessons. We provide funding for teachers and administrators to travel to enrich their knowledge so they may bring this back to their classrooms. Right now, Kimberly Kuhn, who many of you know very fondly, is actually attending March the Living, a grant that was partly funded by Insight. We also provide funding for intensive teacher training at the Jewish Foundation for the Righteous. Insight is one of only 13 centers of excellence for the JFR, and I'm actually attending myself their summer institute this June and will become a learner fellow. This June, we will provide the opportunity for 15 to 20 Palm Beach County principals and administrators to go to Washington, D.C. for in-depth visits to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum and the African American History Museum. And we are so honored that Zelda has agreed to travel with us and support this important trip. And these are the principals and administrators that will implement the Holocaust programs in their schools when they get back. In July, we will send 2 teachers with Centropa to Vienna, Prague, and Terezin to study 20th century European Jewish history, Holocaust, and the Cold War. This trip brings 70 teachers from 17 countries to walk the streets of history, learn from scholars and journalists, and design cross-cultural projects for their students. While our support for professional development is tremendous, the majority of our grants are for the students. Insight provides a variety of engaging student programs for grades K through 12. The lessons of the Holocaust must be taught to our students to ensure a better future. Insight is proud to provide support for the members of the child survivors and hidden children so that you can travel comfortably to the schools and events where you share your stories and lessons. We will always be here for you. Your stories, first-hand testimony, are the most impactful way to teach these very important lessons. The lessons of kindness, respect, and acceptance of all others. Your recollections touch the hearts and souls of students in a special way. Again, thank you. Learning about the Holocaust allows students to learn from the past and develops their understanding of the ramifications of prejudice, racism, discrimination, and stereotyping in any society. The lessons of the Holocaust are a reminder of the past and hope of the future. We must strive to create a world that is stronger than hatred. Hatred that stems from ignorance and bias. If anyone has the right to hate, it is you, and yet you are the ones teaching the power of love, the power of understanding and acceptance. You are forever hopeful that by sharing your stories and what happens when good people do nothing, that we can create a better future. Today, we honor those we lost and those who survived and envision that brighter future. I personally have watched intently as many of you have shared your stories with local students, and I promise you, you are making a difference. We will never forget. Thank you.
I think so, but you want Linda's talking next. No, wait.
Linda Chase grew up in New York. Her interest in bringing voices of interesting subjects brought her to a career as a co-host of a radio show. In addition, her resume is a long and creative one. She produced radio shows and did voiceovers for her clients for WEVD radio in New York City. Linda moved to South Florida 20 years ago and served as the director of the Florida Israel Chamber of Commerce for 5 years. This past year and a half, Linda has served as the Judaic advisor and editor of the Jewish Journal, which brought her in close contact with Holocaust survivors, and she was captivated in capturing their survival stories to share with the community through the Jewish Journal, which also is a part of the Sun Sentinel. She not only writes about the survivors, but has become close friends with many of them. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Linda Chase.
On top of the microphone, please.
Okay. I am honored that Zelda asked me to speak today. Together we reflect and remember the loss of our people during the Holocaust. We also honor the people that were heroic and survived. I feel special connection to our survivors as each week I interview a survivor and share their stories on the front page of the Jewish Journal. Documenting and sharing these important stories with the readers educates people who never even went to a Holocaust film or spoke to a survivor. And then there's the people who are very familiar and read a testimonial and realize they may know that survivor or a family member or even a neighbor. I have received many phone calls and emails expressing the excitement of reuniting with someone. I join you today as we remember and say that they should never be forgotten. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. John Koenigsberg, a hidden child survivor of the Holocaust, was born in Amsterdam, Holland in 1937. He has been a valued member of the Child Survivors Hidden Children of the Holocaust and has served on the board for a number of years as Vice President Outreach. John speaks extensively to schools and organizations, also sharing his personal artifacts with the audience using a PowerPoint presentation. During the past number of years, John was recognized by the state of Ohio as a difference maker because of his dedication bringing the evil history to schools, universities, and adult audience, imparting not only the history of his survival, but endowing his listeners with a responsibility to never forget and stand up for justice and safety for all people. John returned to Holland in September 2009 to participate in a ceremony honoring the family Schneekers that saved him with the Righteous Among the Nations Award presented by the Israeli ambassador. I am pleased to call upon John to read the poignant poem, We Remember Them, by Sylvia Kamens and Jack Reimer.
At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the shining of the sun and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and at its end, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
Maybe we can have Norman stand on the ground there when you leave. Get up on the step.
I screwed up. You want to do the other one next? It's okay. Yeah. Let's do it normally and then we'll go into the cottage. Okay. With Norman. Under the other. Okay. Yep. If you want, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
In our religion, when somebody passes, we say a memorial prayer, and today we say a prayer for 6 million of our fellow Jews who have passed this life. And the words are El Moy Rachamim, God full of mercy, Shochem Baruch, who dwells on high. Please grant eternal rest to the souls of all those who have departed. I'll chant this without music. El Moy Rachamim, Shochem Baruch, Hamitenu Chonachona, Tachas Kanfei Shechiyenu, Heve Ma'alos, Kedoshim V'Tori, Kezohar Ekiyah, Ma'azeyim, V'nishmos, Kol Acheinu B'nei Yisrael, Anashim, Nashim v'taf, shenibechu, v'shenechnechu, v'shenishrefu, v'shenerechu revu. Ve'gan ha'eden v'tehim v'chason, I'll ask everybody to please rise. We're going to say a special mortar Scottish. Yit Gadal,
Auschwitz,
V'yit Kadash,
Lodz,
Shmei Rabbah,
Punar,
V'yomadi Rachimutei,
Barbie Yar,
V'yamich Malchutei,
Majdanek,
Chayechon Uv'yomechon,
Birkenau,
V'chayedechol Beit Yisrael,
Kavno,
Akalav Izman Koriv,
Janowska,
Yibru Amen.
Amen.
Yishmei Rabbah Mubarach Leolam, Amen, Omaya. Yibarach V'yishtabach,
Theresienstadt,
V'yipar V'yidromam,
Buchenwald,
Yidnasei V'yithadar,
Treblinka,
Yidalev Yithalal,
Vilna,
Shmei Dekudisha,
Bergen Belsen,
Richu Le'ila,
Mauthausen,
Ninko V'chata V'shirata,
Dachau,
Tush V'chata V'nechmata,
Minsk,
Damiram V'yalma,
Warsaw.
Hebrew Amen.
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 Yehi Shalom Rabba Min Shemayim V'chayim Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael, Hebrew Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom V'rama, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael, Hebrew
Amen.
Candle lighting.
We can be seated.
Not yet, we're gonna light the candles now. Sit down. We're at that point in the program where we light the candles in memory of the 6 million and for the future of all of us. We will be calling members and friends of Beth Ami who are second and third generation survivors to come up and light each candle. I'd like to start with Nathan Borg. Thank you. Joost Momens.
I didn't.
Bernice Scola. Betty Jakovovitz. Judy Aronson and Leon Lewenstein.
So Scott not to like one because we need to leave one for the little guys, the kids.
Our past president, David Strauss, and our current president, Scott Van Dyke. Now we'll be lighting a seventh candle, which we call Lighting the Future. We'll ask Michael Aaron and Gabriel Naftali, who are third-generation children of Robert and Meredith Hannon, to light the seventh candle. Well, as we conclude our program, we're very fortunate to have the Loggers Run Middle School Girls Choir here to perform the Partisan Song, which is the anthem of the Holocaust. The choir is directed by Dawn Zeman, who is with us today. And also with us is Julie Gates, a teacher at Loggers Run. And I'd also like to welcome a number of parents who are in the audience. Thank you for coming. So, girls, come on up.
So he came all as du gehst den letzten Weg, und schien mit meine verstellt neue Tag. Mit Bett noch unser ausgebähnte Show, set ab heute an unser Trott mir seinen Loh. Mit Bett noch unser ausgebähnte Show, set ab heute an unser Trott mir seinen Loh.
From a land of green palm trees to the white land of snow, we rough our pain with our woe. Wherever a spurt of our blood fell, on that spot shall spurt forth our courage and our spirit.
So he came all as du gehst den letzten Weg, und schien mit meine verstellt neue Tag. Mit Bett noch unser ausgebähnte Show, set ab heute an unser Trott seinen Do. Kumen bet noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Wetter pointen unser Trott wir seinen Do.
The morning sun will brighten our day, and yesterday will disappear with our foe. But if the sun delays to rise at dawn, then let this song be a password for generations to come.
So ni came Ola zu gehst dem letzten Weg. Hoshim dem Bein der Verstell Tag. Kumen bet noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Set a point on unser Trott wir seinen Do. Kumen bet noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Set a point on unser Trott wir seinen Do.
This song is written with our blood, not lead. It is not song of a free bird flying overhead, amid crumbling walls. A people sang the song with grenades in their hands.
So ni came Ola zu gehst dem letzten Weg. Hoshim dem Bein der Verstell Tag. Kumen bet noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Set a point on unser Trott wir seinen Do. Kumen bet noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Set a point on unser Trott wir seinen Do.
So, never say the road now ends for you. Although skies of lead block out days of blue. Our long for hour will yet come, our step will be out. We are here.
So ni came Ola zu gehst dem letzten Weg. Hoshim dem Bein der Verstell Tag. Kumen bet noch unser ausgedenkte Show. Set a point on unser Trott wir seinen Do. Kumen bet noch unser ausgedenkte Show. Set a point on unser Trott wir seinen Do.
Okay, that was awesome, guys. Okay, thank you all for coming. That concludes our program for today. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we hope to see you again, God willing, next year.